Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is doing fine. Today, we're going to talk about genetic crosses. Let me I will speak in Arabic and English. So, in case you do not understand anything, you can write below in the comments. So, first of all, we're going to talk about who is responsible for this idea, the person who is responsible for this idea, and the things they ask about usually in the exams is his name. You need to unfortunately know his appearance as well, and a picture usually is such picture is required. It's usually given, and then you need to mention the name of the person. Again, we're going to talk about genetic crosses. The person who is responsible for genetic crosses is called Gregor Mendel. He is one of the most famous people in the 19th century. He is an Austrian monk, and he experimented with pea plants to understand the role of genetics in controlling the traits. In order for us to understand what are those words and all that, first of all, characteristics. Characteristics means um, different, I wouldn't say adjectives, different kind of things we inherit from our parents. For example, if I say hair, eyes, skin, all these are different characteristics that we inherited from our parents. However, the traits are the different forms of these characteristics. For example, if I say like hair, okay, hair is a characteristic. So if I say trait is the different form of the characteristic, like the hair could be curly, could be straight, could be wavy. All these wavy, curly, straight are the traits of the hair. So the different forms of the characteristics is called the trait. Okay. if I explain this in Arabic, احنا عندنا حاجة احنا حاجات احنا ناخدوها من مالينا اللي هي او نورثوها من مالينا تسمى characteristics. لكن الاشكالات المختلفة للصفات هذه زي فور اكزامبل احنا نورثو الشعر، نورثو لون البشرة. فلما نجي نقول على سبيل المثال الشعر ممكن يكون ستريت، ممكن يكون يعني ملوي اللي هو كيرلي، ممكن يكون ويفي. فأنواع مختلفة من الشعر هذه ينقال عليها تريت. يعني الصفات اللي احنا نتكلم عليها شنو اختلافاتها. these are the traits. Okay, so next we need to know about what did he experiment with. He experimented with a plant, and what did he see, or what is the things that he has mentioned. First of all, he has more points. Okay, for example, if I say, what did he experimented the plant height, he experimented the color, he experimented the pod colors and the seed shapes. All these four things he just experimented in a plant. Again, what you need to know from this slide is the name of the person. Gregor Mendel. Okay, what is he famous for? He's famous for genetic crosses. And what did he experiment on? He experimented on pea plants. These are the points you need to know from this slide. Let's go to the next. Genotype. Genotype is a very, very common question, and they usually ask about it. And you need to know the definition. Genotype, genetic makeup of an organism. يعني الorganism or the living thing, what genes make up this organism. شنو هم الجينات اللي يصنعوا في الorganism أو في living thing. So this is called genotype, and this question is very popular and very common in the ILC exams. Next, examples of genotype. What are the examples of genotypes? For example, a person has two genes. مثلا, you have a person who had inherited two genes. Usually one gene is inherited from the mother and the other gene is inherited from the father. So for example, if the father has black hair and the mother is blonde, but this person has inherited the gene for black hair and for the blonde hair. Will the person be born with both colors? Of course not. Only one of those genes will express either the black hair or the blonde hair. And usually it is the darker color, because the darker color usually is more dominant over the lighter color. The examples that they have given in this one, For example, the mother has freckles, the father doesn't have freckles. So this person has the genes of freckles from the mother and the gene of freckles from the father. So this person, the offspring, can express only one of them. Either this person will be born with freckles or will be born without freckles. يعني among these two genes, one will be expressed. نعود بالعربي أن الشخص لو ورث for example ورث الشعر عنده جينات ورثهم، خذ جين من بوه خذ جين من أمه. الجين نقول المثال جين الشعر الأسود خذاه من بوه، جين عنده جين شعر أسود وعنده جين بلوند من أمه، يعني شعرها أشقر. فهذا الزوج الجينات عند الشخص هو، لكن واحد فيهم فقط اللي حيبان على الشخص، على الطفل هو. يعني مستحيل واحد بيولد لي شعره صفرة شعره كحلة، لا. فهو يا يجي شعر أكحل معناه خديه من بو that is the one that is expressed، يعني هذا هو اللي بان على الطفل، يا بياخذ الشعر الأشقر وهذا هو اللي حيبان على الطفل. في المثال هنا هم عاطينك النمش، مثال على النمش. المثال على النمش معناها مثال الأب عنده نمش والأم ما عندهاش نمش. فشنو هو اللي يا الطفل هذا بيولد عنده نمش يا حيولد ما عندهاش نمش، معناها واحد في من الجينات حيبانوا عليه، مش الزوز مع بعض. Okay, so again phenotype. لما جيت نتكلم عن كلمة phenotype, usually people they actually go you know, they get mixed up with genotype and phenotype. It's very easy to understand. Let me just felt tip on the phone. So what is a phenotype? Phenotype, since it starts with the P, so the physical expression of the genotype. And what is the thing that a person is expressing physically? Yani if the person expresses the freckles, this is what you see. So this is the phenotype. If the person expresses the black hair or the blonde hair, the thing that you can see physically related is the phenotype. Okay, again, genotype, for example, if I say someone has a genotype has genes for freckles and no freckles, these are the genes that the person carries. But if he expresses freckles, okay, this is the physical appearance of the person because it expresses that. So again, the phenotype is also influenced by the environment. Okay, let me give an example in this one. For example, a person, الphenotype معناه physical appearance. الشخص هذا for example خدا جين من بو جين من أمه، طبعا هذا كروموزوم، فخدا جين فاصلة فريكل فاصلة النمش وفاصلة ما فاصلش النمش. so وهذا اللي بان، يعني لما يجوا الشخص وبيبان عليه نمش شوية، اوكي، لأنه عنده جين من واخده من بو اللي هو فيه فاصلة النمش. Okay, he took the gene from his father that he has the freckles and it is there. Okay, what is the environmental factor that will help the phenotype? Extra sun will darken those freckles. They will become much, much darker, right? So there is a the physical appearance is actually influenced by the environment around it. So if this person is in a place where there is not much sunlight, but those freckles will remain, they will be expressed, but they will remain very, very light. So this is how the physical appearance is affected by the environment. Alleles. Oh, the versions of the gene. الجين فصل ديما two version. version حاجة اسمها dominant وحاجة اسمها recessive. But alleles, first of all, what are they? They are the two versions of the gene. If I have a gene and there are two versions of the gene, okay, what do you mean by two versions of the gene? For example, so he has, for example, there is a gene, the father is tall and the mother is short. So if I say, for example, hello, where am I writing? I'm sorry. Okay. So if I say, for example, the father is tall, so he inherited the height from the father, and he inherited the shortness from the mother. So these two will be expressed in the person, or the person will have these two things. Okay, so okay, how can it help me? It can help you with the fact in okay, look at this one. For example, the father is tall and the mother is short. I will not write the word short, but I will write T small because she's short. Okay, so he inherited the shortness from the mother and the tallness from the father. Okay, so, okay, will this boy or girl be tall or short? Look, if the father's gene is dominant, شو معناها dominant? What does dominant mean? معناها if it means that because this is the gene of the person. Dominant means that only one copy is required for the dominance to go. And the small t means that it requires the other copy like itself for it to be expressed. I will repeat in a very simple way. For example, if you're in a household, okay, and if I ask you who is the most dominant personality in your house, for example, you might say it's your father, okay, because for example, if your mother doesn't agree to something, yet your father says yes, so his word will go upon all of you. So he's the dominant character in the family. It means whether your mother agrees or not, yet your father's word will be expressed. This is what his will be expressed. His will be accomplished. If I explain this in Arabic, الدوميننت معناها for example كلمة الشخص اللي تمشي. مثال لو أمك وأبوك مش موافقين على حاجة معينة for example أبوك قالت إنك أنت مش هتمشي للحفلة وأمك قالت لك أوكي أنت تمشي للحفلة. باهي مين فيهم الكلمة اللي بتمشي على الحوش كلها؟ نقول الأب. فالأب هو الدوميننت كاركتر في الحوش في العيلة لأن كلمة تمشي على الكل. فالجين نفس الشيء. لو قلنا احنا ان التي هي الكبيرة هي الدوميننت معناها سواء الطرف الثاني زيها ولا مش زي كلمته هو اللي تمشي معناه هو اللي بيحكم على الصغار. صغاري كلهم بيطلعوا طوال لان انا الدوميننت. التي صغيرة ما تقدرش تكون دوميننت لكن هي مش دوميننت تسمى ريسيسيف. شو معناها؟ معناها لازم هي مش تكونش بروحها تكون واحدة تانية زيها هيك سمول باش يطلعوا صغار شورت. Okay, I repeat, dominant means only one allele is required to be expressed. Recessive means we need both alleles the same to be expressed. For example, if I say a dominant allele, a dominant means a trait which always is expressed even if it has only one copy. It has only one copy. If you are following with me, if it has only one copy of the allele. Whereas the recessive, it means the trait which is expressed if a dominant allele is not present. Can a dominant is not present, then its word will go. And if your father is, for example, in absence of your father and the mother asks you, okay, you are going to the party, so then you can go to the party. But if your father is present and he says no, you will not be able to go. So the dominant, it's the allele that will be expressed even if the other one is not the same. Whereas in the recessive one, it has to have two of its copies in order to be expressed. Repeat. في الدومينانت القليل الواحد تمشي أموره يعني هو اللي حيعطي الصغارة أو يقرر شو المفروض يعني يكون كان مثلا الدومينانت هو الطول معناه صغارة كلهم بيطلعوا طوال حتى لو أم قصيرة. لكن لو هذا ريسيسيف معناها لو ريسيسيف شو معناها؟ الأم كلمتها أمتى تمشي لهم في غياب الأب يعني الدوميننت لو مش موجودة هو كلمة الأم تمشي معناها القصر أمتى تكون الأم قصيرة أمتى يطلعوا صغار قصار. لو قلنا احنا هادو زوز الأب والأم زوز قصار فأكيد الصغار بيطلعوا قصار. You get the point. فالريسيسيف allele it is expressed if the dominant allele is not present. I hope I made it somehow clear. Next, alleles. Again, they have dominant alleles for a trait called homozygous. Can a dominant homozygous? Okay, I'm sorry for this example, but if I say homosexual, it means the same sex or the same gender of the person. Homozygous, it means both of them are the same. Look, both of them are capitals. So these are dominant homozygous. So if I say, for example, a brown hair is dominant to all of the hair colors. Why? Because they are darker and one gene is needed only. This means that if a person who inherits two genes for brown hair will always have brown hair. For example, if this is the child and the child inherits like brown hair, if I said like brown hair capital, and the mother is blonde, and if I tell you the brown is dominant, so what will be the offspring's color؟ يعني الصغار شنو حيكون لونهم؟ لو أنا قلت البراون هو الدوميننت، أكيد عندنا واحد ولا براون دوميننت وكابيتال، خلاص معناها الصغار حتى لو عندهم الجينات بتاع البلوند هير، هذا الجين بلوند هير، الصغار كلهم بيكونوا شنو؟ براون. علاش بيكونوا براون؟ لأن الجين اللي هو المسيطر مني الكابيتال. لما جينا نقول كلمة هوموزايجس، شو معنى هوموزايجس؟ هوموزايجس it means إن الزوز زي بعض، زوز كابيتال. لما جينا نقول هوموزايجس ريسيسيف، معناها زوز سمول. ريسيسيف معناها الجين ضعيف، أو جين اللي هو ما فيش كابيتال، ما فيش دوميننت. كان الأب والأم زوج جو هوموزايجس ريسيسيف. شو معنى البو بلوند والأم بلوند؟ أكيد الصغار بيطلعوا شنو؟ بلوندز، لأن ناخدوا البلوند من جهتين. So having two recessive alleles is called homozygous recessive. ولو الزوز عندهم dominant cells ينقالوا عليها homozygous dominant. Okay. So, for example, the red hair is expressed when a homozygous recessive person inherits two faulty copies of the gene that breaks down the red pigment in the body. This causes the buildup of the pigment that results in red hair. You don't need to know that in detail. Okay, so what do we know till now? The most important thing from the first slide is the name of the person. They usually give you the picture. His name is Gregor Mendel. What did he experiment on? He experimented on pea plants. Next, you need to know what is the definition of genotype. It is a makeup, genetic makeup of organism. What is an organism? What genes the organism is made up of. Next, عندكم phenotype. Phenotype, it comes from physical. معناها what is expressed. معناها what is the physical appearance. شنو هو شكل الشخص هو. تمام. جينوتايب شنو هو الجينات الموجودة في الشخص هو، أو الفينوتايب معناه كيف شكله، شنو هو الجينات اللي باينة عليها الشخص هو. بح قليل معناها احنا قلنا مرات في حاجة اسمها دوميننت، عندك حاجة اسمها ريسيسيف. النوعين من الجين، جين ريسيسيف، جين دوميننت. الدوميننت معناها يبي نسخة واحدة باش أموره تمشي، باش كلمته تمشي. لكن الريسيسيف لازم يكونوا نسختين باش كلمتهم تمشي. معناها الريسيسيف is only expressed in the absence of dominant. لكن الدومينانت لازم يكون نسخة واحدة كفاية باش كلمتها تمشي. Alleles, again, having two dominant alleles for a trait is called homozygous dominant. معناها كان زوز capital يتسمى homozygous dominant. كان زوز small ينقال عليه homozygous recessive. Why? homozygous شو معناها كلمة homozygous؟ معناها زي بعض. homo معناها same genes، يعني the same. This is all what we have taken till now. لما نجي نتكلم على heterozygous، تو ركزوا معي. الهيتيروزايجس again I have taught you like for example لو خديت الأب منه brown وخديت من الأم blonde، هذا شنو يتسمى؟ هيتيروزايجس. علاش هيتيروزايجس؟ لأن مش زوج زي بعض، هومو زي بعض، يعني يا بيكونوا هيك، it will be like this, it will be like this. So this is called homozygous recessive. This is called homozygous dominant. Like, what about this one? A mixture of both. It's called heterozygous. As they gave you an example, R capital, R small. For example, if a person inherits one, let me change it to highlighter. For example, if a person inherits one dominant allele for brown and one recessive allele for the red hair, what do you think? What will be the color? Since we have one dominant, the color will be brown. Why? Males who are heterozygous may have red hair in their facial hair. So, for example, homozygous dominant, they're both same. See? Why I can see my, okay. And then this is homozygous recessive. Both of them have light colors. And then what about heterozygous? One is dark and the other is light. But which one will be expressed? Which one will be expressed? Of course, the dominant one. So if I say distinguish between the terms genotype and phenotype, this is the genetic makeup and this is the physical appearance of the person. Okay? So next, explain the term allele. Allele again, it is the variation of the gene. What is the different types of gene? واحد capital, واحد small. And then what about the describe what is meant by the dominant and recessive? As I told, recessive is expressed only in the absence of dominant. Dominant is only one gene is required to express itself. Now, monohybrid cross. Should not have monohybrid cross. As I told you, genetic cross can be used as a model of inheritance traits from, okay. Monohybrid cross is something we do in order to know what is the possibility of the children to be like. And will they be exactly like the father, like the mother, or what will be the genes? A genetic cross between two individuals for a single characteristics. It is the genetic cross between two individuals for a single characteristics. Let me give an example. I will give you, for example, a Punnett square. A chart for shows all possible genotypes. This is a square, for example. I will give you an example, just a second, guys. Steps model genetic. Define the parental genotype and gametes produced. Then we need to know what are the parents like. Then step 2, work through the Punnett square to show how gametes can be combined. Step 3, the genotype, phenotype, how are the genes like and what will be the appearance of the children. Okay, for example, homozygous dominant and homozygous recessive. So if I say homozygous dominant, first of all, I know the meaning of homozygous, both of them are the same. If I said dominant manner, both of them will be capitals. So this is why the first parent is tall. But where is the question? Here is the question. Look, Melanie started with a set of crosses, pure breeding plants. We have plants that are plants height, for example. Okay, tall. Mendel crossed a plant with a trait tall, a tall plant with a plant which is short. So now tell me, what is this? Is it homozygous or heterozygous? Since both of them are the same, it will be homozygous. Okay, is it recessive or dominant? This will be homozygous, recessive. Why? Both of them are small. But when I come to this one, both of them are capital. So they are the same, right? So it will be homozygous. But what homozygous? Homozygous dominant. So if the two parents are like this, what will be the children like? So I'll give you a very, very easy. For example, let me write the mother here, T, T. And let me write the father, capital and capital. It's like mathematics, we are multiplying them. Now, T with T, so it will give me T capital and T small. And T with T, again, T capital, T small. Again, it will be T capital and T small, T capital and T small. I multiplied this with the first one and then with the second. And again, I multiplied this one with the first one and then with the second. So I have the possibility, the 4 possibilities are, what do you think the genotype of the children will be? All of them will be, they'll have the gene of the father and the gene of the mother. Will the children be, this is the genotype. But what about the phenotype, the appearance of the children? Will they be tall or short? Since they have the capital form and this is the dominant form, the children are most likely to be all tall. So the first generation of offsprings were all heterozygous. Why did they say heterozygous? Because all of them have T capital, T small. They are not homozygous. And they exhibit the dominant plant height. All of them will be dominant, be tall. So this is what they did again. So if I say the genotype of the father will be T capital, and of the parent to the mother will be T small, T small. If I come to multiply it, in this form. Just a second. Look at this one. So this father multiplied with the mother, it will give us T capital T small, turning it into heterozygous. Why heterozygous? One is they are not the same. Not both of them are capital, neither both of them are small. Again, this is a heterozygous. Again, this will be heterozygous. Since the capital one is the dominant one, معناها هذه الكلمة بتمشي, and all of them have the capital ones, so it means they will all be capital. Sorry, they will all be tall. So the offspring genotype will be T capital T small heterozygous, and the offsprings will be all tall, and the phenotype percentage, all of them will be tall. So this is now, if I say, for example, second generation, if I took this plant with another sibling, so let me write it again here, and let's do it together. I just need to show you how they do it. So for example, if I take two of those plants, let me see. If again, this is a plant, and this is another plant. Now look at this one. Let us multiply it this way. T multiply T, or both of them are, you guys tell me, what is it? Both of them are capitals, and both of them they are homozygous and tall. The next one will be capital and small. Then the next one will be again capital and small. Then the last one, this with this, it will be capital, sorry, it will be small and small. Oh, in this case, we have one homozygous dominant and one homozygous recessive. And two of them are heterozygous. But in this case, there are 75% of the plants will be tall because all of them have capitals, whereas the small, the 25% of the offsprings will be short. Why? Because both of them are recessive, homozygous recessive. So look at this example again. So the ratio will be, in this case, the ratio will be 3:1. 3 of them are tall and 1 is short. Why? Because we multiplied T by T capitals, T by T, again, heterozygous, and then small. So in this case, we'll have 3 children, most likely to be 75% will all be tall, and we still have 25% chances for the person to be small, or for the plant to be short. Okay, so explain the term monohybrid. Again, as we said, the answer is it's a genetic cross between two individuals for a single characteristics. That is the height in this case. I hope I'm still going with the ordinary for now. So let us just see this one. Sex determination. Usually children, okay, for the humans, it's very interesting that the sex is determined by the father, not the mother. Mother will always give you the X chromosome, but the male, it carries X and Y. So if the male sperm nuclei contains the Y chromosome, the offspring will be boy. And if the male carries an X chromosome, the offspring will be a girl. So if I say it in Arabic, مين يحدد جنس الطفل؟ الأب ولا الأم؟ في الناس، في الإنسان هو دائما الأب، لأن الأم دي ما عندها الإكس كروموزوم. النوكليوس اللي هو بتاع السبرم بتاع الرجل هو اللي لو فصل اكس، معنى اكس واكس هيعطي طفله، ولو النواه بتاع السبرم بتاع الرجل يمتلك الواي كروموزوم، معناها الواي زائد الاكس يعطينا ولد. فمع عمرها الأم هي اللي كانت سبب في خيار الجنس. هو الأب دائما هو سبرم اللي جاي و it fertilized the egg. Which sperm came and fertilized the egg will decide what offspring will be like. So in this case, sex determination is a genetic process that controls the biological sex of an organism, whether it will develop male or female characteristics. So controlled by inheritance, sex chromosomes, offsprings that inherit two X chromosomes, from the parents will become female, and the one that will inherit X and Y will become male. There is a difference. I will let you know. I will let you know in a minute. Like when sperms are formed, they contain X and Y. Sperms فصهم X and Y. أما females, they only produce X chromosomes. So, as a result, male determinant determine the sex of the offsprings with a 50% chance of either sex. معناها all these slides, like starting from here and here, the most important word is simple, is only this one. That the males determine the sex of the offspring. يعني الرجال هم اللي يقرروا جنس البيبي. Okay, so here is the female, it has double X, and this is the male. So the female will only have X and X, and the male will have X and Y. But if we multiply this, the chances are always 50%. يعني ممكن نصهم يجي ولد، نسبة الطفل يكون ولد ذكر أو أنثى. So the chances of an offspring of a zygote to be a male or a female is always 50%. So the ratio is always 1 to 1. Okay, this is again for higher, everything. There's only one thing you need to know. And what are the benefits of Mendelian genetics? Sorry, limitation of this person. The first thing you need to know that each trait, كل characteristic, الشعر, العيون, the skin, every characteristic is controlled by multiple genes. Whereas this person thought that it was controlled by one gene only, which is wrong. The second thing, he never considered the environmental factors. What do I mean by environmental factors? That will affect, for example, as I told you, a person might have light freckles, but the sun will make them more dominant, more appearing. So the factors do the environment do affect skin color, the expression of a certain trait. And they did not account for incomplete dominance. There is something called incomplete dominance. I will let you know in the next lecture. It means both genes are being expressed. So Mendel assumed the genes were sorted by independently. However, they're very closely, some genes are very much close together. معناته في بعض الجينات ملتصقات ببعض. when they are inherited together. فهم الزوز يمشوا للجيل اللي بعده لو هم لاصقين في بعض هلبا أو they're very closely inherited. So again, the question here says, what is an autosome? An autosome, it's a non-sex chromosome. Identify two benefits of many. What is benefits? I gave you a type of question rather than the slide, it will become easy. The use of Mendelian genetics is essential for tracking genes in captive breeding programs and for conservation of species in genetic engineering. It helps us in genetic engineering and its predictive power to contract to understanding how traits and diseases affect single genes are inherited. So how diseases affect the inheritance and how these diseases can be inherited. Anyways, so two limitations, as I told you, he did not consider the environmental factor. He didn't consider that one trait can be controlled by multiple genes. So these are the things that you need to know. One last thing I need to add, as I said, sex determined by in humans is by the males. However, in birds, it's the opposite. It's the female that determines the sex. Why is that? Because the female is the one that is XY and the males are the XX. So just little information that you might find different. So in birds, it's usually the female that will determine the sex, whereas in males, it's usually in humans, it's usually the male. I just need to show you this little thing. Anyway, thank you very much, and that will be the end of my lecture for now.